10 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. Dire team.
Faceless Void.
Radiant team pick.
Welcome back, guys. Second best of two here for you. I'm Gareth, joined by Draskell, and it's Taring up against Trust for this one. And honestly, after our first best of one, anything goes. Surprises abound in the Southeast Asian qualifier because Fnatic just got beaten by TNC, and it was not even close.
It was not close, and I think, you know, we talked about the draft quite a bit in that game and how important it was for Fnatic to come out swinging, and unfortunately they just weren't really able to get the pacing that they were looking for. But a little bit different bans coming out here from Signature.Trust and of course Orange.Taring here in the second game today, but still the Void opening. Seems like the Southeast Asian scene likes it a bit. Personally, I haven't watched as much C Dota as I have everything else, so this is the region that is most foreign to me in terms of what's been popular, but seems like Void, just between these last two games, they value it a lot higher than, you know, say European teams do, for example.
Yeah, it's a great hero just being able to stay alive in lane. I think that's something that they look towards. Nature's Prophet has fallen off a lot. Nyx Assassin is really something that Fnatic pulls out from time to time, while it's like Bat and Void. Beastmaster's like perma-banned, so no one ever gets
that
banned.
doesn't change.
Yeah.
Beastmaster is banned everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much across all regions. Well, Orange go for the Lion Ricky start. Now, Lifestealer, I don't know, was he ignored in the previous game? I can't remember seeing him picked or
I think he was ignored because they had an IO opening from Fnatic, so Lifestealer is not a common pairing, so I don't think that TNC ever banned it, and I don't think that Fnatic had a reason to ban it. So all that, yeah, I think he was just completely passed by.
So in this scenario, do you want to like block pick the Lifestealer here, if, like Signature.Trust takes it with the Void? Is that like anti-synergy there between them, or well, they go with the ET in fact? Because like Ricky Lifestealer is such a great combo we've seen from teams.
Yeah, it can be very dangerous, but I think picking Lifestealer into Void is not necessarily like the greatest thing to do in the very beginning, at least in my opinion, because Void can, worst case scenario, starts off with an Iron Talon, goes in jungles. If you were to pick Lifestealer third, I suppose it would give the Faceless Void less incentive to play off the map, because then Ricky just follows you. But if he does that, then he's not pressuring the supports either. So it's a little bit of a 50-50, I think. I just don't like picking Lifestealer until you know for certain what the enemy core is going to be, even if you're like really good against the enemy team supports. Right now, Lifestealer is alright against Elder Titan because you can rage the stomp, but you know, Earth Splitter obviously can still hit you, and if you ever get caught out, it can be almost like an insta-kill. Like you get stomped or you get a sphere into an Earth Splitter, and that can be a kill as well.
A little bit of history of Trust, of course. They've been around for a hell of a long time. Lakel's, Jabs, Abba, Boombell, and Mypro have been around since like the TI2 days. They've run the field, but they've never really got any of these, you know, top place finishes. They've never really, you know, got second or first place at these big tournaments. They've always had the skill. They've always drafted well, but it's always been difficult for them finding these, you know, executable drafts. They have funky ideas of how they want to play the game, but it always seems a little bit kind of off from what everyone else is doing, especially in terms of Lakel's. You know, he's known for his Spectre, his Morphling, these kind of farm-heavy heroes that can play actively from time to time. Last patch, I thought honestly that it would be his patch. unfortunately for him, it just didn't kind of pan out that way. You know, they had Beastmasters, they had Morphlings and Spectres and stuff, but it didn't work out for them. And I've not seen too much of them recently, so I'm actually interested to see what they go for. While on the other hand, you know, Taring, they've got Yamate. You know they're going to come out all guns blazing.
Yeah, it's a very fast-paced kind of play, and you were talking about the Lakel's Morphling, and in reality, it's very hard to fit him into lineups just because of that alone. Like, sure, you can farm very well, you're not really going to die in most scenarios, but you're very limited into what you offer until you have 2 items completed, and that's really the biggest issue with the hero. Sure, having a Linken's, maybe if the enemy team is very immobile, and you have a ton of stuns on your supports and offlane that you could potentially field it, but in this kind of setting where... You know, maybe with the ET and the Void opening, it's not totally out of the question, I would say. You know, Orange.Taring, they got the Riki for the lane control, but it's not really that good against Morphling. You can do a little bit of damage, but you're never really going to kill. And I don't think he wants to waste his time, like, sitting there trying to camp a Morphling. This doesn't really make much sense. So perhaps it's possible here, but we haven't seen, you know, if Orange.Taring are going to go from more of a push-oriented lineup. This is a pretty ambiguous opening. You can still do a lot of stuff with the Riki and a Lion.
Yeah, it's just like, here's some laning phase pressure, here's some annoying heroes to deal with, but no real cards shown so far. And Taring to get rid of the Medusa and the Terrorblade though. And Medusa's another one of those kind of interesting heroes Lakel's is good on, but in Southeast Asia people love running it mid rather than the kind of safe lane Lincoln Sphere after phase boots for that lovely Manta opening to get out of the kind of stuns and silencers. But what would Medusa have given Trust here that, you know, they don't already have?
I think it's not necessarily about anything else but the fact that their high ground defense is already insanely good, with just Void and Elder Titan. Between those 2 heroes, you know, Elder Titan Stomp covers the entire ramp, Sphere is pretty much the same thing. If you want to high ground this team, and you want to try to, you know, not worry about these ultra late game carries, which TB and Medusa definitely fit that criteria. These are 2 that can just solo carry the game. Okay, they're going to pick LS anyway, so I guess they just want to play fast-paced Dota, which is fine. But in regards to the 2 other carries that they banned out, obviously they both match up well against the Lifestealer now, and it would have made it so, you know, Orange fail 1 or 2 high ground pushes, Sig.Trust with those 2 heroes could easily come back.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it's never something you kind of want to get into, right? You never plan your draft to defend high ground and come back into things.
Exactly, but it's always something that, especially if you plan on picking a melee core, you definitely want to be able to at least hit the tower. And that's the biggest fear that I have right now for Orange.Taring is their ability to actually siege that tier 3. I mean, I wouldn't even be shocked to see Sig.Trust pull like a Tinker or something, because it just synergizes so well with the Faceless Void and the Elder Titan.
Sniper Troll.
I mean, Sniper Troll. So people have been running Troll recently.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, especially as an answer to Phoenix. That's been one of the ways to kill the egg. You know, you just pop ulti as soon as he eggs, and the egg it can't live, like, no matter what. So,
I mean,
it's been...
People have been running Sniper, like Danish Bears have run Sniper a couple of times. I know there's a couple of Southeast Asian teams.
So obnoxious in lane.
Oh yeah.
So obnoxious.
Like, scattershot, I'm going to right-click you from a million miles away, you can't really do anything against it. And you never really thought of Sniper as, you know, kind of a solo lane winner before, you know, you think you're Queen of Pains and stuff like that. It's like, I'm going to dominate you in lane, but Sniper can do the same thing from a long distance.
I wouldn't hate Sniper, actually, for Sig.Trust.
I mean, they've got Chrono and Stomp, right?
Yeah, and plus the Spirit and having a snipe as well, just like amplifies the snipe damage.
Oh, yeah.
So you just get
and
wrecked.
The vision. You get 300 vision from Astral Spirit.
Yep. The other thing, the other pairing with Tinker, you can obviously TP on the Spirit too. So there's always some nice energy there. Lich, amazing pick against Riki and Lifestealer. It sounds counterintuitive about the Riki, but it's not really like the Lich himself is good against the hero. It's Ice Armor is good against Lifestealer and Riki. So you just put it on like the Elder Titan or, you know, whatever core, and if they get jumped, you just can't chase you. That's really the biggest benefit to it. So if you have any like Force Staffs or whatever, you get hit once, they get Ice Armor debuffed, and then you just walk away and they can't get another hit off.
Lich always used to be heavily indicative of like dual lanes. You know, we used to see Lich Doom, Lich Tide. Do you think it's going to be like a Lich Void here?
That's a really scary lane, actually. I don't even know if Orange.Taring could contest it. So this is the part about their lineup that is one weakness, is the fact that they picked both of their support heroes immediately, unless, of course, that they decide to put the Riki off, which would be really strange. But if Sig.Trust go into this with the idea that Riki and Lion are both supports, they can't really control the Lich Void lane. Otherwise, they would have to commit 3 heroes down there, and I don't think that's something they can do. I think this is probably support ET, you know, potentially dual off lane, the Faceless Void Lich. Orange are going to have a hell of a time with that lane if that's what Sig.Trust want to field.
So with the support ET on the safe lane, you kind of want a ranged carry, right?
Potentially, yeah.
try and annoy that Bat Rider a little bit. Slark is still out there, a hero that matches up naturally very well against Bat and would allow the ET to maybe like control top rune, roam a bit and stack some camps if they look towards that one.
Yeah, Slark is really good, but my main concern is he's not really that good with Sphere. And he also has a very interesting timing where you kind of want to be ahead of the Lifestealer in item progression like the whole time. If he's ever even with you, you run the risk of just getting lassoed and just getting destroyed instantly. And okay, they're gonna go with Chug here. This could still be mid, obviously. Yeah, it's not bad, but I think the Sphere synergy is one thing that's maybe too much for them to warrant picking the hero in the first place. And we saw the effect of Jug Faceless Void in the last game, right?
Oh yeah.
He bought a Blink Dagger, he had SNY, he just blinks right after the Chronosphere, then Omnis whoever's in it. So you always have that synergy. In worst case scenario, you can spin and hit somebody on the edge perhaps, so still pretty good.
Both teams looking for their mid heroes as their final ones, though likely here for them. And what are we missing from Taring? They've got a lot of nuke damage, they've got tons of control and like pick-off power. They're kind of missing, you know, sustain in terms of like healing and regen or anything like that, but there are very few mid heroes that give you that.
Yeah.
What kind of bolsters the Taring lineup here as their final hero? Like, you can never go wrong with a bit of nuke damage again, and Queen of Pain has always been like a Southeast Asian special.
Yeah. I wouldn't hate Invoker, honestly. Because I think it gives him push. I think Exort Evoker would be nice. Kind of similar to what Fnatic were doing in the last game, but...
Oh yeah, then you've got the Lasso Finger Sunstrike combination to kill off.
They could also go something clowny and just pick like Alk or something. And just put it mid and go farm. I mean, obviously it's not amazing against DK mid, but then it kind of makes it so if Signature.Trust want to go to the ultra late game, Alchemist naturally builds good items against Elder Titan. Like, he wants to make AC, he wants to make Armlet, just items that give you that armor aura and just sheer tankiness, not through base armor. And that's what makes Strength Heroes a lot better against Elder Titan than Agi, because obviously if you pick like a Morphling or a TB, you're just going to be at 0 base armor the whole game, and that's a disaster. But it depends on what direction they want to take.
Dragonite from Trust is going to give them the pushing power that they were kind of lacking a bit as well. Also enables their 5-man to come in a little bit faster. Don't need too much in the way of initial atomization. You know, all of these heroes are very kind of skill set reliant. They don't need any heavy farming. It's just like primary incremental item, an armlet here, you know, an SNY or something there for the DK and the Juggernaut respectively. There's no big like, we need a blink, we need a this, we need a that. Whereas Taring, on the other hand, they do need that little bit of time. They need Bat Rider to get his Blink Dagger. Lifestealer, I think he's in the same boat as the DK and the Juggernaut. It's kind of armlet and then go and do stuff. And Tinker.
Oh.
Okay then.
It's not bad, actually. They can't... Okay, so they could potentially put Lich mid now instead to keep the Tinker down. But I don't know if they will. He might deny the first wave and then just go bottom. And Tinker is a very good matchup against Dragonite as well, because Laser is hell for all melee. Like, it's just
it's a pain in the backside, honestly.
Yeah. My only concern really is, again, Orange's ability to go high ground. I don't see how this team breaks the base. I honestly would say Sig.Trust has maybe significantly outdrafted them. Like, how is... Lifestealer has to be so far ahead of Sig.Trust lineup to be able to hit the tier 3.
It just walks up ramp and...
Yeah, like, no one else hits towers.
10 seconds remaining.
Whereas Trust, they could even conceivably put Void, Juggernaut, and DK all up on the front lines, and you know, ET and Lich are pretty good at kind of slowing the fight down and stopping any advance that Taring have.
I think the Tinker is too much of a deviation from the rest of the strategy. That's how I feel about this.
We did it for the first game. We've got to continue now. The predictions.
Let's
we have to. Player with the highest net worth at the end of the game. So if we think Trust are going to win this one, Juggernaut
probably, yeah.
Yeah, we'll go for the Juggernaut. Seems pretty good there. Team with the most runes picked up by 10 minutes.
Sig.Trust. Or no, Taring actually.
I feel like Taring, the Ricky roaming around, the Tinker controlling. Bat Rider's very good at sort of getting onto those runes. Oh, nope, that's wrong.
Alright.
One. There we go.
Will there be a Courier Snipe? Yes. There's a Ricky in the game. Gotta go YOLO.
Which team will win?
Sig, obviously.
Sig, yeah, okay, right,
Yeah.
we're good. Oh, nice little TP from Ice, actually. Double Fairy Fire, he's got his sentries, his obs wards, and he's seen the Lich place an observer ward as well. Boom Bell on this Lich. Already been scouted out, even with his very fast TP down towards the bottom lane. Over towards the others. What have we got? So Psionex on the Lifestealer behind him. A Ling playing the Lion. On the mid, Rodji on that Tinker, while the off lane is going to be Yamate playing the Bat Rider up towards top. That's a very deep observer ward now. I don't think I've seen this too often. Is this just to try and watch out for Lich stacking?
It could be for stacks, it could be to scout out where the Elder Titan is as well, just in case you want to try to go for the rune, in case you might run into 2 heroes. DK plus ET can actually kill on the off lane if he goes for the rune too quickly, so it scouts out the ramp. Not a bad ward at all.
Yeah,
and I seriously doubt it would get dewarded, unless the enemy team has done serious research against that.
Yeah, I guess if it comes down, like, you don't want to get sandwiched on this rune spot, right? You don't want to get hit by the
exactly.
2 heroes coming in. Bottom rune might be contested here by both teams, but Ricky has scouted out all of Trust. He has placed an obs ward as well. All 3 of these observer wards are like not new to me, but for this time of the game, for the beginning of the game, they're kind of interesting.
It's because they're expecting a lot out of Ice this game. He needs to be able to give information and just create havoc on the side of Signature.Trust map. If that doesn't happen, I would say Signature.Trust probably run away with this game. So on top of Ice having a good game with the Ricky, you're looking at your middle lane, you're saying on paper, alright, Taring should probably walk away with this as well, but it's a very similar story to what Fnatic had when they were playing against TNC. If you don't win your lanes in Snowball, like, breaching the base, super hard. Going late game against Signature.Trust lineup, also super hard. So the first, 10-15 minutes are going to be super important here for Taring.
There will be the Lich Void duel off lane. This is going to be so annoying for Taring to actually handle. Lifestealer should be able to get, a decent semblance of farm down here, but actually killing either of these heroes off, unless Lich makes a massive misstep, is going to be nigh on impossible. Mid lane, DK against Tinker matchup, like you said, Laser's going to be irritating for DK. Should still be able to last hit once he gets into level 3 with the Breathe Fire and gets his bottle up and running. Should be okay for him. More of a trading of farm matchup rather than any massive kill potential there. While top lane, it's now Bat and Ricky, and already the Elder Titan Jabs is in a spot of bother as he launches out the stomp and can cut through the trees to get a little bit further to safety. Lakel turns this one back onto Ice, but Yamate, he's going in deep here, won't commit for the kill. They do a lot of damage back onto them, and Ice might actually consider going in again, but Jabs very smartly stays by his tier 1, and the healing ward early on dropped by Lakel's.
That was probably the best shot they had at a kill in the early game. That right there, and unfortunately it kind of slipped through their fingers. The pressure was applied, but Lakel's not going to probably miss too much CS. Ice is just doing his best to be disruptive, while in the meantime, bottom, you can just see how annoying it is just to deal with a Lich in the first place. Like Sionix, you want to be higher than 6 CS in your safe lane at 2 minutes. It's not like a huge thing, but over time the deficit is going to get bigger and bigger.
Now that gap does increase between him and the Juggernaut. And this Ricky, he said he has to create chaos. Unfortunately, an Invis rune up at top isn't going to help him out too much. Pretty redundant for him, as lasers keep getting thrown out, and of course, MyPro does a great job with the Breathe Fire, just holding himself in here, but it's still 4-2 against the 12-4, getting tripled up on here, in fact, at the mid lane. Once he gets that bottle out, things do kind of ease up on him. But usually the Dragon Knight is kind of, helped out a lot to get these runes and fill up that bottle to allow him to CS. But like we said before, the Ricky roaming and the Batrider and the Tinker, top rune is a no-go zone for the Dragon Knight almost.
Yeah, you just don't walk top. You forget that part of the map exists right now if you're MyPro. You just sit here. Ricky is very unlikely to straight up gank the DK, unless for some reason Raji decided to go full laser rocket. And I mean, for this particular game, I don't think that's a play he can make. So there's never going to be a point where the DK is going to be low enough for the Tinker and the Ricky to get a kill. So for Ice, it's just, I'm going to go ahead and do everything I can to just be a nuisance in this top lane. The unfortunate part is, he's not really stopping the kills that much. I mean, he's being about as obnoxious, I suppose, as the Lich right now to the Lifestealer.
This is a good TP though down to bottom lane from the Ricky, the kind of unexpected surprise from one side of the map to the other.
Though.
We see it a lot from bounty hunters. That sentry, like you mentioned, will reveal Ice and allow Abba to just time walk himself back to safety. So, I thought it was a good TP, but in the end, doesn't really amount to anything at all.
They were very prepared. The other thing too is that could just be a natural dewarding sentry. So even if they weren't necessarily prepared for the TP from Ice, there a lot of times would be a sentry in that position regardless, and that's just unfortunate because now Ice has to walk all the way back across the map. It's 4 minutes in, he's still level 1.
Oh my, there must be some way to turn off these prediction updates because holy crap.
Are you just getting more?
Yeah, it's just continue going through every time. It's like updated. By the way, your prediction's completely wrong because this guy's now in the lead.
Yeah.
Oh, look.
It's actually popping up every single time.
I mean, come on, Valve. This is not how it's meant to be. But, I don't know. Maybe we just tell Bruno disable it in lobbies. Keep it for Dota TV and see how things go in there. But No kills so far. It's going to be a relatively quiet laning stage. Everyone just kind of farming themselves through, and this is what we have to look for from the Tinker especially, because when you have a Lifestealer as your one primary form of physical damage, the Batrider doesn't offer you a massive amount. He's mainly catch and kill. The Tinker has so much weight of this game on his shoulders that if he dies a couple of times, in the next like 5 or 6 minutes, I'm really worried about the game plan here from Taring.
It's just because of the heroes that they've picked. They just don't have the great transition as Abba.
That's some good chaining, and with the smoke down, Abba. Oh, is he? No, he's not. The final swipe from Ice.
Yeah, the sentry faded. That was a very good timing from Taring to be able to secure that kill. So one of the lanes we kind of expected to be harder to kill, still took a lot to bring down the Void, but in the end they get themselves on the board. They need that. It's not even like that kill's good, it's they need it to happen. Because all of a sudden, if Ice is, suddenly level 3, he has all of his spells, he's a lot more impactful. Maybe he can get some more successful rotations going for himself and put Taring in a good spot.
Oh, Elder Titan. Gonna make a little bit of a wander back over. No stacks being made up here at all really for the Dire side, and well, Batrider from the top lane, he's hit his level 6 and he's got about 900 gold in the bank, but again, no stacks for him either. All these supports are very occupied on the lanes themselves. Is a bit of a deviation away from what we're used to seeing. Usually there's at least one hero moving around from lane to lane, controlling runes and stacking at the same time, making the most of their time. But here it's very, very heavily focused on the laning stage, like you said, because Taring needs to win the lanes, and Trust needs to kind of hold and weather the storm and not lose them.
Yeah, exactly. This is just a rare case of needing to apply pressure on the map and not having an offlaner that also needs stacks or can abuse them. Normally you don't see those two things in conjunction for this exact reason, is that you don't have that fallback mechanism for the Batrider to just be like, oh, I can go eat up the jungle and get my blink. Fortunately, Yamate is still doing very well. He's got 28 CS, he's almost on par with the Void, who had a Lich backing him up pretty much the entire laning phase. I would much rather have a Lich than a Riki. I don't know about you, but I think that in that sense, Taring are probably coming out a bit ahead. So hopefully once Yamate finishes up his drums / Blink Dagger, they can start to make some stuff happen. But
so what's with the drums? Because the first time I saw that was Faith Bian from Wings,
yeah,
and I was like, huh, that's interesting. It's a nice stat item, movement speed is pretty good, Wind Lace is an amazing item, but why that over a Blink Rush?
I think it's a lot for, because of the Juggernaut, per se, because it's very hard to burst him down unless the line is 6. And speaking of kills...
Oh, can they kill him? This is going to be a good stomp out from the ET, actually holding this fight in place. They don't have any damage to turn it, though, as Jabs walks into the Firefly. It's a bit toasty in there with the Batrider. That was a great play from Taring, comboing up Lasso and Smokescreen, and it looked like a good go onto the Juggernaut, but great reactions from Trust. Just slow things down again, set the tempo a little bit lower, and make sure that Taring don't start running away with things.
Yeah, it goes back to the drum choice, too, on the Batrider. Even if he had Blink there, it still wouldn't have been a kill, and he needs the Tinker to have bots before the Blink is useful, because there's no other burst damage on the team outside of the, Ling hitting level 6 on the line. So until that point, having the Blink Dagger doesn't really accomplish much for him, and with that said, Lakel's even goes for Vanguard, so he's going to be even tankier than he was before. Drums just allows the Batrider to stay in the fight longer.
Oh, Lifestealer. Tragic. Chrono and the DK stun come through, and Lifestealer, this hero that's meant to start racing forward with his item build, does get taken down, but Boombell towards the mid lane, chased into the smoke cloud, and Yamate over the top with the laser from the Tinker, the 4-man rotation in. It's a trade-off, but it's not the best.
It's a terrible trade, actually. Okay, they get 2 heroes, kill a Lifestealer, and they're gonna get, damage on the tier 1, whereas you send 4 heroes for a freaking Lich, and you hit the tower like 1 time. I don't know. I think that Taring are kind of, not necessarily panicking, but they're overcommitting, understanding how important the early game is for their team. And I suppose, looking to Ling's level 6, hopefully, those drums being there sometime soon on Yamate. He is saving gold now, though. I'm not sure if he decided against.
Oh, the final jump onto the creep. Ice still getting spun down, though, and Lakel's will pick up that kill.
Nicely done.
Now this tier 1's open as well. I mean, ET and Juggernaut, not the best tower hitters, but if there's no one there contesting them, there's no creep wave or anything, finally the Batrider will TP forward and force them back. It's more out of necessity than anything that Yamate returns to this top lane, because he'd love to go back into the jungle and actually farm into his bigger items.
I don't think they can actually kill, and Yamate knows that Omni Slash was just used, so he's got 1100 HP and he's got the infused raindrop. If they try to go on him, it's not going to work. Like, there's just no way. They don't have the control to be able to take him at this stage. But Taring are doing all right. The Life Stealer, obviously having that one death isn't going to be great. He really wanted to have his armlet finished by now. Like 9-10 minutes is a little bit later than you want your safe lane Life Stealer to be getting armlet completed, but we do know that he was up against a Lich, so kind of understandable. And he's still giving, you know, Ling the lane. Now having Finger available, that's going to be huge. Could be the first time this game that Taring can really establish themselves on the map.
And in the meantime, Tinker, of course, you know, 0-0-1, that one assist helps out a little bit, but he's farming incredibly well, 4,000 net worth on par with the Juggernaut. As Tinker will also get this D-ward down, and that's another little bit of gold there, as long as MyPro doesn't steal it out. And Max March is done to travel a 400 gold away, and this is going to be like an 11-minute VOTs, which honestly, after the Soul Ring, is a spectacular timing for Tinkers. You know, a lot of different things where, you know, you swap out the Soul Ring, you don't go for it, and you just try and get the BOTs rushed. It's like 11 minutes or so. And back in the dire jungle, Yamate will get himself over the trees and far away after killing off the Elder Titan. This Tinker, he's off to a great start.
Yeah, he's the guy who needs to just dominate this game. I'm really thinking after bots, you know, Blink maybe right into Dagon, or perhaps it goes Ether Lens Dagon, but they're going to desperately need that magical damage burst to deal with the PK. And also, at some stages in the game, just being able to get bots too, you can teleport onto the Riki, for example, go for crazy things like Invis ganks.
Oh, that chrono is so beautiful. They've caught ice in it as well, but Tinker is the guy they want to try and focus down, even with the smoke screen out. Ling looking for the Finger of Death, but Abba a little bit too tanky, and he even expended, not getting the kill, while MyPro on the front lines had another second until his stun was up. Sided facing back into the Lion. The Tinker has died, and that is critical timing as well, slowing down the BOTs we were just talking about.
Really painful stuff. Even MyPro are going to get a couple of hits on the tower. Every time Dragon Knight hits a tower, it's pretty much a guaranteed like 150 damage just because of the corrosive breath. So Signature.Trust still doing very well here in this early game. And once Jabs hit 6, you can imagine how much more dangerous Chronosphere is going to be, just because of being able to throw an Earth Splitter on top of it for extra damage. You know, Taring, their lineup is not bad as long as they're controlling the tempo, but they're really not in the game.
Well, a tier 1 mid looks like it will get denied though at the very least, but Lifestealer is inside of this ice. Riki, Dragon Form is down, and you want to get something done with this, but look at the spread of heroes from Trust, right? They've got 2 heroes bot, 1 mid, 1 jungle, 1 top. There's not really going to be a big team fight or anything here for Taring to actually force themselves into. It'll just be a solo pick-off. But it's great defensive play. Juggernaut actually goes behind his tower, realizing Lifestealer isn't showing on bottom lane. He's not pressuring tier 1. Where could he be? In jungle, potentially, but you're also missing this Riki roaming around, and you know that the timing is there for Armlet and that Invis jump out with the Infest.
I mean, they see Lakel's, but he's got a Vanguard. Like, even if you did open wound, tremendous amount of waste of time. By the way, that's a little bit of lag there. I was just making sure it wasn't, it wasn't just my PC, because that would pretty much be my luck. But okay, so he did opt out of the drums after buying the bracer. Maybe he just wanted to make sure that his timing was a little bit faster. You could still justify going drums, I guess, in this case, but you are spending like an extra 900 and some odd gold finishing it up instead of putting that towards, you know, a little bit under half of your Blink Dagger. So Yamate is completely online. The Finger is going to be cooled down in about 40 seconds, and that should be a really strong peak right now for Taring to be able to put themselves in this game.
Yeah. Dragon Form not even thrown out. They don't need it for this tier 1. A couple of heroes standing behind him as well. And the mirror effect does have to come into play here for Taring. They can't really go and match head-to-head up against this 5-man from Trust just yet anyway. I will try and trade off the top tier 1 for the bot tier 1 as middle tower still low on HP, but no one that can really walk up and pressure it. But they finally get the OPs on Tinker, and this is going to be the start for something bigger. But of course, Boots of Travel is like stage 1. Stage 2 is Blink Dagger. Stage 3 is that Dagon or Ether Lens you were talking about. And with the BOTs, it enables you to farm across the map. But if there's no map to farm into, then you really do struggle as a Tinker.
I think he might be experiencing a little bit of that this game. Taring are smoked up here. Yamate with the Lifestealer inside of him, looking for a pick.
A scan comes out from the Dire, actually looking behind them to see if there's a wraparound or anything, because the smoke there from Taring. Lifestealer infested inside of the Batrider. And ET will know, right? ET will realize he gets the all the bonus stuff. He did hit a couple of heroes with the Spirit, so they'll know that there's people actually lurking around behind the tower. The last though finally onto MyPro. There's nothing to save him here, and the nuke damage from the Finger of Death to finish him off, but Psionics retreats back out. There's the ulti from Riki. But Trust, 1 minute 30 seconds left. Trust is going to be able to They'll retreat back to a safe distance. Or will they jump back in? The 3-man chrono, now the Earthsplitter comes through, the damage there from the Chainfrost as well! Oh my god, Taring! You were in a ton of trouble, my friends. Abba will get ripped apart by the skill of the kills. Chases Yamate, spins him down, but the stick charge is there. Finally, armor toggle through from Psionics, keeps him alive, and they've turned this back. Taring, they've got the damage and they've got the control. The Tinker with a rocket clears up the Juggernaut, and even with the Astral down, the stop will not slow down the Lifestealer. But the TP out, there are only stuns to stop him. Taring, an amazing fight for them, even after a 3-man chrono Earthsplitter Chainfrost out from Trust.
Honestly, the bounces were pretty unfortunate. There were a couple of creeps in the mix, so instead of getting like the bounces onto the Earthsplitter, it was kind of hit a few creeps and fizzled out. So not the luckiest Chainfrost we've ever seen, and a lot of it too, like you said, the DK being picked off at the beginning of the fight. That's definitely what made it, you know, more or less impossible to come back from. But it was a hell of an attempt, to say the least.
They defend their tier 2.
Also, I'm pretty sure the kills did not have Frost Armor for that, which I would say if both your DK and your Juggernaut don't have Frost Armor at all times, something is wrong. Because you can keep it up on like 5 things.
Boom Bell, fortunately, didn't have that one up on them. And Tinker has been allowed to get another 1,300 gold in the bank. But the 5-man continues up on top lane. Trust, they regroup. They get themselves back into things and actually move back up towards this top lane for the tier 1. The Tinker Marchers should start coming out soon, though, as Ricky preamps with a sentry ward down. It's a sentry ward out from Trust as well to see where they're coming from. And Astral with that visual scout, but Yamate, finger on that trigger button to blink in.
You need to be careful about not getting too impatient. Like, you want Chain Frost and Chronosphere off cooldown before you start pushing into this tower for real. Because if you're going to be taking the fights, you need to make sure you're prepared.
Oh man, my pro's in there. The stun comes through, but this Tinker in a lot of trouble. Taken out by the Earthsplitter and the kills on the front line, spinning through onto Link. And even with Yamate going in on the target, my pro is so tanky. You can't bring him down. The armor toggles come through, and the Dragonite, now enabled by the Chain Frost, keeps on going. Turns back to kill, and oh, Taring. No, Tinker. You came back into this one, but the Group. Well, at least they will when the lag, when the lag, you know, kind of fades through.
That was just a total disaster. Maybe Taring thought they had a couple more seconds before the Sphere and the Chain Frost were going to come off cooldown. Obviously, being the longest cooldown ultimates on the side of Sig.Trust, but you know, they were going all in for that tower defense, and the Tinker just walked a little bit too far forward, ate a Dragon Tail, and off the back of that, with your Tinker dead, you just don't have enough magical damage.
I mean, that was an Invis rune on my pro, right?
Yeah, it was Invis.
That was super unfortunate for them, especially after the Sentry Ward exchange as well, that Ricky placed down, kind of knowing that was coming through. Tinker dying, flying back, and dying again. Yeah. That's his blink dagger delayed by another, you know, 4 minutes or so.
Oh man, that is painful.
Like I can see it in your face. You're like, I feel your toes are curling. You're cringing. You're just like, oh god, please.
I play Tinker a decent amount.
Same.
And seeing that happen just hurts me inside.
It really does. It's some tragic stuff. And Lifestealer, this guy that you said has to keep this item progression really going at a fast pace. His armlet was done, you know, 6 or 7 minutes ago, and Psionics only has a band of elven skin on top of it.
Yeah, he's going for the Yasha, I guess, which is a little bit unorthodox. Usually we just see straight into the Echo Saber on most builds, and then later on into things like Daedalus, or perhaps they want to go for, AC or even Abyssal Blade sometimes, but in this game, just going straight for the mobility. That DD rune here from Sig.Trust on the DK.
And Trust saw the Ricky walk across. They know that Ice is lurking around here somewhere.
He can't contest on his own, there's just no way. I mean, he has a Lifestealer, but even those two would just get wrecked. Wants to go for the steal, maybe?
There's reveal here, and Lifestealer is inside of you. But there's the Rage away. Gave up a free kill on the Ricky, and the Aegis now being passed over onto the Juggernaut as well. Lakel's 1400 health. Blink Dagger being brought out to Abra as well. The Void adds in even more initiation tools here for Trust. My pro has close to 3 grand in the bank saved up.
Kind of curious to see if he just goes BKB or if he wants to go for something like a Heart. Heart is incredible when you get it this early on a DK, because simply put, you can pop Dragon Form, you can hit the tower, and if you start taking residual damage from the March or the Rockets or anything like that, you can simply walk away and heal back up. But it looks like it will be the BKB. I think it's, for team fights, it's definitely the safer choice, because that way if you randomly get, you know, jumped by a Batrider, maybe you have fast enough reaction to BKB, or, you know, if the Ricky clouds you, you can just do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I suppose since it's more predicated right now around Taring making the initiation, that BKB is probably the safer choice here.
Oh, the better reactive option?
Yeah, a better reactive option for sure. I think if Heart could probably still work, just because of the sheer amount of health that you get, because he'd have well over 3k health with Armlet on.
And it's 19 minutes into the game as well.
That's exactly my point, is with Frost Armor, 3000 health, the Lifestealer, even against heroes with high HP where you would normally say Feast is great, Feast is reduced by armor. So you have like 30 plus armor in a 19-minute game with 3000 HP. Even a Lifestealer can't really chew through that, so.
And it's a level 8 line, so your Finger of Death isn't really going to be able to finish anyone off.
450 out of 3k, you know? Pretty decent chunk of damage.
Yeah, percentage based, it's not the best. You need a Phoenix in this game to try and deal with that one, don't you?
Yeah, that actually would have been a really nice hero for them to pick up. But I think they picked their Lion Riki together.
Yeah,
which pretty much means you can't ever, you know, if you want to do offlane Phoenix, it really hasn't been a thing for quite a while. And if it is, it's a dual lane Phoenix. It's not like a solo Phoenix.
Tinker does finally have that Blink Dagger up 20 minutes in.
That is so late, actually. Like, you want this at 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's 12, 15, the next item's like, you know, 19 or so.
I think a lot of people often forget how important item progression is in this game, and how it feels to be playing in a Dota game where your items are coming in like 5 to 7 minutes late. That's when you feel like you just had a terrible game, but you can't quite put your finger on it. A lot of it is just simply item progression, and being able to be in the right spot at the right time with said items, so.
Like, we used to see it a lot in previous patches from, you know, Gyrocopter especially. His BKB timing was incredibly important, like 16, 70-minute BKB if you didn't go for the S and Y, and even off by, you know, a minute and a half, something like that, you're not allowed to fight. You can't go and contest Roshan, you can't take tier 1s and tier 2s, and these might seem like, you know, just objectives, but these are objectives that give your Lion the goal to get a Blink Dagger. He's got it now, fortunately enough, for Taring, as well as his Tranquil Boot, so it does add this extra bit of initiation for them on top of the Blink Force from Yamate's Batrider. But if they're getting 5-man here down onto their tier 2s, they'll be defending high ground soon. And they'll blink away from Tinker, not going to get clipped by the Elder Titan Spirit. Serve Ward placed down early by Ice as well, knowing that this push might not stop. Aegis on Lakel's, lasting for another 2 minutes. This could be a high ground attempt.
It'll still be difficult, I think, for Signature.Trust to break the base right now. If they get the DK one more item, or, you know, Lakel's one more item, I think it'll become significantly easier. They do always have Healing Ward to fall back on, I suppose, which could be another reason why my pro decided to go BKB instead of Heart, just because you know you have that guaranteed heal, as long as Lakel's doesn't suicide the ward, which I don't suspect that he will. And this vision coverage from Signature.Trust right now is just insane.
They have really locked in this kind of bottom third of the map as the high ground attempt does come through, and the glyph very early on here as Lasso catches off Abba, but thrown immediately from Micro, holds him in place to get the initial kill at last on the Faceless Voice. There is no chrono, but the BKB from Micro will allow him to retreat, and that stomp is pretty spot on. Did Ice die to this? No, not quite.
I suppose the earlier ranks of Earth Splitter don't really do that much. It's really when you get to like 11 and 16 that it starts doing real damage.
I mean, that's a good defense there by Taring.
Yeah.
Get the Void, make sure there's no chrono.
More impressive that he was able to get that lasso with like no vision at all. Taring, it was nighttime, and they pretty much don't have a single ward out on the map, except for the ones by the river and bottom, I suppose, but there was nothing in the immediate vicinity that would have allowed Yamate to feel so confident about going in on that, but making that one play bought them quite a bit of time.
So we look at the Lich right now, and Lich has always been one of the more selfless, you know, supports in the game. Just walks around with round boots, tranquil boots, observe wards and sentries. Lion, obviously, Taring did need to give him this kind of space to get into the Blink Dagger, but the point I'm getting to is when I look at the Riki and I see he's got 2600 net worth, he's got Tranquil's Urn and Orb of Venom. We've really seen Riki's kind of flourish when they can progress and get Diffusal Blades and get these Yashes and, you know, actual items that cause them to do damage. Is this going to be a big deficit that Taring need to fill, or are they going to just have to rely on the Tinker and the Lifestealer to do their
it's
damage?
Absolutely a deficit. So the main thing about Riki and why he came into the scene... Oh, he has a gem.
Oh yeah, I was wondering like, well, what, he just breathe fires onto the ground for no reason? No, he can see the Riki.
Alright. Yeah, but in regards to the Riki and what it offers, I think the main reason why people want to pick Riki early is to make it so the enemy team has less incentive to pick junglers. And if you do, then it just automatically guarantees that the Riki is going to be able to punish. So at the very least, you're trading net worth for net worth, saying our Riki might not farm, but you're definitely not getting farm on your jungler. And if you do, you're going to have to commit more to me to make the pick worth it. The issue with picking in the way that Taring did is you show your support with the Riki, which guarantees that you know exactly what the early game lineup from the supports is going to be and what their game plan is as well.
It's a nice chrono from Abba. The TP's come out as well before the tower drops, and with the Earth Splitter, then last on the back end, Boombell is caught, but it's the lowly Lich. That's not the target you really want to go for, as the Life Stealer does jump into Yamate. Great play back out from Taring to escape. The chase is on. Blink in one, and Yamate, he can get out of reach here and TP out. Nice little route away. That's some risky play from them.
Well, I think they're starting to feel that constriction coming out from Signature.Trust, and probably also not feeling super confident about their ability to go late game at this stage. Like Sionix, he went for the SNY, which I think is fine. It's still an alright build, but it is still very mid-game centric. So I would like to see Taring try to get something done across the map, and to his credit, he has been pretty much infested in Yamate every single time they go out for a kill. They know that getting something done out on the map is like the most important thing that they can do at this stage. Because look at Lakel's, man, he just buys BKB. He's like, I'm tired of March. I'm tired of this Bat Rider. I just want to be able to hit the freaking tower. That's all he wants.
And they can do it with impunity almost if they do actually breach the next high ground. I mean, tier 3 is still very healthy. They didn't get too much damage done. Tier 2 up at top is still standing, but Taring moving across the enemy side of the map here. And this is something that, you know, may seem like a ballsy move, but it's something that they really need to do. They need to set the terms of the engagement on the enemy side of the map so that if they lose the fight, you know, obviously that's worst case scenario, but if they lose the fight, then they're not going to lose their base.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good point. And on top of that, Tinker doesn't really want to TP into a fight unless the fight is already kind of going on and a couple of spells have been used, right? So if, for example, Abba has Chronosphere off cooldown, or there's like an Omni Slash or something, the Tinker is much more hesitant to go in, but if a spell comes out between the two of them, then all of a sudden he has space in the fight. And he can throw out some rockets, he can get a march out, maybe even a laser, if he's in a good enough position. And that just helps him be able to contribute to the fight. Where if you're just getting ran at and no one's used anything, the Tinker's sitting there like, okay, I can't TP in because I'm just going to get sphered. I need to go somewhere else and try to split push instead. So a lot of it is playing aggressive to make room for the Tinker to do something in the fight, and also because, like you mentioned, they kind of have to.
Roshan up in about a minute or so. Another 3,000 gold on Dragon Knight. Let's see if we can get that Heart of Tarask up on him.
I think Heart is definitely the item. I suppose you could justify AC as well.
Yeah.
But there's only like 2 physical damage dealers as opposed to 3 magic damage dealers. And I mean, Tinker is just, he's so good to buy a heart against when you've trapped him inside of his own base. So sometimes you're like, you buy a heart and there's too much control on the enemy team, or there's like an AA or something, and it's not really that useful. But here, when you can just reset every single siege and keep the Tinker in one spot, that is such a good way to stop the hero from ever really getting off the ground. Because ideally you can farm, you know, 2 or 3 waves at a time if you're Tinker, especially once you get to level 3 rearm. But if you're just keeping him in the base and forcing him to march one lane over and over again, that is so inefficient for a Tinker. That like kills his worth in the game.
When you look at heat maps and stuff of Tinkers that are, you know, winning games and doing well, it's not just they're going to lanes, but also like
it's like a Picasso, it's freaking everywhere.
Like they move to this area, farm this camp after the lane, they move in between, you know, the jungle camps, and just like, you know, they jump from spot to spot. It is all about double marching a lane, jumping into the jungle, double marching jungle camps, and you know, you're increasing your farm by, you know, 40-50% doing it that way. Whereas, like you said, if it's the kind of paranoid TP onto lane, march twice, TP out, and not get anything done in between, then it is pretty bad for them. But Roshan has been spotted here by Trust. The Reaver is up on the Dragon Knight.
Yeah, it looks like Heart's going to be the choice. Realistically, with the BKB, he's only used it once. He could have just as easily gone Heart in this scenario. It probably would have been like the same. But this way, he is pretty much a god if he has BKB on. There is absolutely no way he does.
I guess the other thing with AC is that often people buy it to go and hit towers, but you don't need it here for Trust, right? You've got Juggernaut and DK that can just hold high ground.
The aura is not really super useful against their team. It's like we talked about, it's only good against a Lifestealer. But the Riki doesn't even have enough items to justify saying it's good because Riki also does physical damage. The guy hits for 57. Like, come on.
Pick off potential here up at top though is pretty good. Lion is level 11, Taunted Finger of Death, but I mean, Dragon Knight is the hero that TP's top, and that's not who you want to go on. Ice even retreats himself out, and the line is drawn from Trust saying, right, we've got our Aegis, we've got our items up now on our big old cores, we'll deny the tier 2 and limit how much gold they get, make sure there's no little backdoor action there for them. We'll go and push the tier 2 and maybe even high ground here, so now it's down to Tinker to reset equilibrium and push back into the enemy tier 2s. You see that's what Ice is doing mid as well. On this Ricky, just trying to eke out any little bit of pushing power they can to maybe deter Trust from all-inning on this tier 3. And be a rough one to defend if they are actually held back with backs up against the wall.
I think they honestly just got outdrafted way too hard. And the unfortunate thing is their opening actually put them so far behind. You can't pick Lion Ricky unless you have a specific response in mind from the other team that you want to abuse. Picking those two heroes together just sets your early game plan in stone. It's like we have no choices. We have to roam with the Ricky. We have to have the Lion support against that Lich. And Signature.Trust kind of forced them into that as well by picking the Lich later on. Because I think they opened up, what, like Void ET, right?
Yeah.
And so it was Void ET, and at the third pick, they took Lich, which really solidified the outdraft, like just in that pick itself, because it says, okay, you have static lanes with a roaming Ricky that's not going to get anything done. And I guess to his credit, he did get 1 kill, but that's not nearly enough.
Tinker with the Ags though. This could be a way for Taring to actually defend their high ground. Yamato, of course, has the Lifestealer infested inside of him. A lot of gold in the bank as well, but we're just looking across like the buyback status of all these guys. The Lifestealer bought a Basher earlier, sold it, made sure he has buyback, and really is indicative of where Taring is sitting right now, knowing that they need every little bit of damage and every hero available in these team fights that they can possibly get. I would say forward, but Trust, even with Aegis, even with these BKBs, just like, we'll take tier 3, we'll back up, we'll farm a little bit over the jungle camps, we'll make sure that when this new wave does push forward, we'll clear through everything, and we won't give you that chance to find the pickoffs.
I think they're also waiting for my pro's heart. I think it's
on its way. Nice.
He's got the money for the Vitality boost, he's just sending the courier over. So, once he has that, Dragon Knight God mode pretty much activated. I honestly have no idea how they're supposed to kill that hero.
So who's the lasso target then? Is it just Void again?
Yeah, Void would be the best target for sure. The thing is, now that he has Blink, Abba won't have any reason to sit anywhere close to the base anymore. Because you can just do the Time Walk, Blink forward, and then go for a Chrono.
So who's the lasso target then?
There isn't a good one.
There isn't one, right? Oh.
You don't want to go on Lich because he doesn't really offer anything to the team. He's an armor bot at this point, which is still fine.
This is like the thought process of Taring as well, right? Like, if we see someone, who do we go on? Who do we initiate on?
It's like even if you get the initiation on the right hero, there's a good chance that the ET still gets a stomp off. So like he throws out his spirit, walks it forward, hits a couple of heroes that are going on the Void. Maybe he even lives, who knows? But
Lifestealer has no TP, he's popped his rage, and with this blink forward available from Abba, oh, nope, Ice picks him up. A little bit of a transport there.
Yeah, if he died there, that would have been pretty disastrous. Not to say that this game isn't already a disaster for Orange.Taring, but, you know, Signature.Trust clearly have the map control. They even have a pipe on Jabs. Like, he's got pipe Force Staff as a support ET.
He's 3-1-7. Actually, let's have a quick look at KDAs. 6-1-3, 3-1-7, 2-1. Lich is the only one. Oh, so Void has died 3 times.
Yeah.
0-3-11.
He's been heavily focused this game, and he does now have a BKB. It means even he is pretty difficult to lock down and focus.
It's a nice laser though. Just slowing down this push, but with the Blaze Fury there from Lakel's, allowing him to hit into that tower. Cliff is forced out as well. Tinker is very good at these high ground defenses, but it's the slow chip away from the Dragon Knight and now the spread across. Blaze are not going to be able to bounce between them if they keep their distance like this and focus
they can't do anything here. This is like the perfect...
Oh, there's the initiation in. Catches the Tinker as well on the back, and Abba BKB through this and Blink is shredded by the Juggernaut. This might just be it. Buybacks come through from both of them, and Trust will retreat a little bit. The BKB ends the Micro, but this is a hard DK with how much armor? 38! You can't put through this. Surely not. The Lifestealer starts jumping him down, and there's no saving power here from Trust. They leave the DK high and dry as the rest of them retreat the hell out of this Radiant base.
That was actually a huge misplay by the Void. You didn't even need to jump there. So you're in this scenario where you have a perfect concave. Your 2 cores are hitting 2 racks. Your Void sitting in the back smoked. Taring are absolutely helpless in that position. Like, they cannot go. You had the melee racks dead already, and Sig.Trust feel ultra confident at that point because, okay, they didn't contest us. Obviously, they can't fight. But the issue is, you bait your DK into walking into tier 4 towers, and he had a gem, and he preemptively BKB'd. So it's like, by the Void going in, he kinda a little bit through. I mean, sure, they still got the racks, which is the objective they came for, but they could have walked away completely fine and just gone mid and done the same thing.
Or they could have hit the range racks one more time as well.
Yeah, they could have hit the range racks one more time, but the point is, you don't have to commit any ultimates to that engagement because they don't ever fight you. And then you're walking mid with a sphere, and Taring are just scratching their heads going, okay, if we don't initiate, we lose our racks, but if we do initiate, they're in the better position. So as soon as the Void jumps on his own accord and goes that far, already plan failed. Like, you can't do that as Void in this lineup.
A little bit overzealous with his actions, feeling they're so far ahead that, like,
they still are.
I guess the thought process is, if we catch, you know, these heroes and we kill them, we force the buybacks, and then we kill them again, the game is just like over. You know, if he lands the perfect Chronosphere, it's just like, well, it's game over. But
it's much higher risk versus the reward that you get, as opposed to 0 risk. And if they jump us, we win anyway. Look at the heroes,
like,
right?
He grabs the wrist of DK and like, come on, come with me, you're gonna go fight now.
Yeah. It wasn't, was definitely not the play. Interesting choice here from Yamate, going straight in for the Ags. I mean, I suppose it's probably one of the only items he can buy that has a really big impact for the cost. So like, say you catch 2 heroes, you know, maybe you get the Void and the Lich or the ET are just, you know, standing by him. That would be much more impactful, I think, than anything else he can get at this point.
Like, plus, a BKB is not going to do too much for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's never going to try to, like, bring himself past the DK if he gets a good lasso target anyway. Because then you're just going to ask for a Dragon Tail in the face, so... Don't see it too much, though.
Yeah, it's a nifty little thing. Unfortunately here, the smoke and movement up, maybe trying to bait the Tinker out a little bit, not going to work. Taring as Trust have spread themselves down towards his bottom lane, even with an Observer Ward up on one of those little Tinker spots there, looking out for him. Abba's been waiting patiently for a good, 30-40 seconds down here, looking for the Tinker.
Does he even have the damage to solo kill?
Well, I guess he's got like ET and Lich within 4 staff distance to come through.
That's quite far.
Oh, there's the lasso onto a creep catching my pro. Yamate tried. Oh my god, Yamate tried it, but...
Keep in mind, the way that they killed him last time was 5-manning him in front of tier 4 towers.
Sure.
That's how they killed the Dragon Knight last time.
They've caught the Tinker. They've actually got this with the Chain Frost as well. They've got the damage.
Oh, he cancelled his TP. I guess he just didn't need to go after seeing Yamate, unfortunately, lasso to creep.
And that's 70 seconds without your biggest high ground defensive hero. Lakel's walks into the Lifestealer, but he's got an Abyssal Blade, dude. This Juggernaut could potentially turn and fight you, and that's why Taring realized, right, high ground is there. There could be heroes waiting for us, so we'll retreat back and get to our base, wait for Tinker to respawn.
Oh, this is really nice from my pro. He bought bots as soon as the Tinker died.
Oh, cool.
So now he wants to just go straight in for the tower. They do not have Glyph.
And I've got no lasso for another 19 seconds. They nearly had no Batrider there as he manages to force staff himself away. Abyssal Blade is available for Lakel's. He doesn't have any kind of repositioning tool, no Blink Dagger or anything. Could try the Force Staff from the ET if they want to go that way, but it's Amber that jumps forward first, securing that tier 3. And Signature.Trust look to close out this game as quickly as they possibly can. Dragon Knight.
This is the concave they need. Like, what can Taring possibly do to this? They have no way of initiating. And this could have been the exact same scenario top if their Void can just YOLO 420. Like, look at that. They just walk away. Taring can't do anything to this.
I mean, that's plan A, right? Yeah.
That is the only plan.
You take buildings and you walk away. The Void kind of went to plan X or something. It's like, I want to go pretty deep in here. I'm going to go cool, get the Chrono down. But, I mean, this time he didn't have Chrono. Maybe that's the only reason they did back off.
Or maybe after the last engagement, like Lakel's just rolled up a newspaper and just hit him on the nose and was like, no, bad Void, don't go in.
Just booped him on the...
You wait.
Booped him on the nose. Tinker's alive again. Rod G has got some work to do. 2200 gold back up. In Bloodstone is usually an item where you start snowballing, you get ahead and ahead and ahead. So not really looking towards that one. Dagon could offer them that magic damage that they want, but often once it gets to this stage in the game against a DK and a Juggernaut, I don't know. Scythe of like you want to clear out creep waves, so like a Shiver's Guard would be good. The slow and the armor is going to be nice as well. But Hex, is that what you look for?
I think he needs a damage item. 100% damage.
Let's go for the Dagon then.
Yeah, I honestly think that buying Ags this game was a mistake. So Aghanims isn't really that good against Juggernaut because you have to expend too much mana, and the Healing Ward brings everyone back up to full anyway. And by the time he had Aghanims, my pro had his heart. So what are you doing? You're like chipping down a DK that's going to heal back up in like 2 seconds anyway and just continually hitting the tower. I think if he had Dagon, he would have enough burst to be a threat to some of the tankier heroes on Sig.Trust, which is what they need. They need a damage threat. So instead of it just being, okay, I'm firing out 4 rockets that all do like a little bit of damage, oh, I can burst one hero like 1200 damage. And then even a DK would be like, okay, that's quite a bit, you know, maybe he doesn't feel like he can hit the tower as freely. But because he goes for the ether into Ags, he can't actually kill anyone, but he can harass a lot. And that's an issue, because their biggest problem is not being able to kill fast enough. So what happens when you last at the DK? Okay, well, you're gonna have a Blink Void.
Yeah, I would say he's been caught in ice. He's just being right-clicked down. Even with his Blink Dagger, can't reposition himself, and Life goes inside of this one on this side. Oh, yeah. Even Abyssal bladed up. This looks like it might be the beginning of the, well, not even the beginning of the end, but just the end for Taring as they lose 3 at the Roche pit. Wanted to contest that one.
That was such a lucky bash. Like Hell's walked in and just first hit bash at Lifestealer. And then he gets out, he has like Rage on, gets bash, gets Abyssal, then Omni, and he's like, alright, well, I pretty much hate my life.
Well, Ricky with a Blink Dagger is looking to try and get in there with the Smoke Cloud and really contest inside the Roshan pit, but
do it, Ice.
Try and steal it out. 3, 2. Oh, they know he's there. They're actually picking him out. Oh, unfortunate.
Looks like he was going for the courier snipe, but they know.
Lifestealer? He's quick on his feet, and Lakel's, again, with no blink, can't really chase this one down. Phase boots forward. There's the Infest into Yamate, and the blink away. There he is, buddy. Oh, how full. Vipro nearly had that one. Again, it's 3 lanes converging onto the Radiant base, and tier 3 mid is going to be the port of call here for Trust, as high ground defense 5 seconds away from that Tinker respawning. These super creeps are starting to stack up onto the tier 4s as well.
Yeah, they don't even have the greatest of wave clears, even with a Tinker. It's not really good enough. That's the thing, is a lot of people say, okay, you have a Tinker, sure you can wave clear, but the real issue is that he doesn't really push lanes that fast. Like, he's not an AM or a Juggernaut or Sven or something who just walks up and 2 shots the creep wave. It still takes a couple of seconds for him to kill the wave, which means that he can't really commit as much time pushing out other lanes to try to get you some map control back. He's more reliant on teams going high ground before they actually should against the Tinker, and end up giving away a lot of kills, and then you get this huge boost momentum by getting like another item off of 1 high ground defense, and then you just crush the game. Fortunately, Sig.Trust are so tanky that they can't even get the 1 kill. I mean, I know we've kind of been beating a dead horse here for a while, but Taring have just drafted themselves into such a corner.
What is the way to break out of this run?
Oh god.
I'm putting you on the spot here, Draskell.
Okay, so you have like 3 force staffs on Taring, right? And then you like lasso 1 target and like triple force staff him
into the fountain.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It honestly
the only hero you can do that to is like the Lich or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so hard. Because you want to initiate as the Bat Rider, but the 2 heroes that you can possibly go on due to positioning are just too damn tanky.
Yeah, they just walk up into March. They don't. They do not give a damn. Tier 3 is falling. Taring Ricky. There's the blink forward off the healing ward, but the stun immediately from MyPro seals his doom. But on the back end, they've actually got this stun down. The stomp onto the 2, the Lion's gone, and the Tinker chased down by the DK. No mana for a stun, and the lasso catches both of the cores. Yamate, he doesn't have a force stab, he can't drag them into the fountain. The plan has failed. They can't kill them off in the final Abyssal Blade. Salt in the wound as the laser bounces back between them, but Lakel's with the BKB clears up yet another, and Fountain dives in. The plan was to drag them into the fountain, but they're walking into the fountain, Draskell. They don't give a damn.
Yeah, unfortunate here for Orange.Taring. Not the strongest showing we've ever seen from the team, but gotta give props to Sig.Trust. Seen 2 really solid drafts today, 1 from TMC in the game up against Fnatic.
So we predicted that Trust would win. The result was none.
And we lost.
How is that incorrect? Hello?
I don't know, dude. We were right on 3 out of 4, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that we were wrong on is the courier snipe?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
That's kind of because the Ricky had, a lot on his plate and had a lot to do. But
yeah. Honestly, I feel bad